Good morning, friends. Um, Today is the second lecture on obstructive lung disease. In previous lecture, we have discussed about emphysema and chronic bronchitis, and today we'll discuss about asthma and bronchitis. So what is asthma? It is a chronic disorder of the conducting airways that is up to the bronchioles, and that is usually caused by an immunologic reaction which is marked by episodic bronchoconstriction because of the increased airway sensitivity to a variety of stimuli, inflammation of the bronchial walls, and increased mucus secretion. So, asthma is a chronic disorder of the conducting airways caused by an immunological reaction, and it is marked by episodic bronchoconstriction, inflammation, and increased mucus secretion. And all these will lead to the disease manifestations. So symptoms include the coughing, wheezing, chest tightness, and shortness of breath. And this shows the normal airways, and this shows the airways in asthma. So this shows the narrow airways because of the constriction of these muscles. It also shows the inflammation and mucus hypersecretion. Acute severe asthma, also formerly known as the status asthmatics, it's the unremitting attack, and such patients usually have a long history of asthma, and between the attacks the patients may be virtually asymptomatic. So as in these patients there is an unremitting attack, they have to be admitted in emergency to the hospital for the treatment. Recently, although treatment for asthma has improved substantially, but the prevalence of asthma also continues to increase in lower income countries and in some ethnic groups in which its prevalence was previously low. Then this asthma is categorized as atopic asthma and non-atopic asthma. So in atopic asthma, there is evidence of allergen sensitization and immune activation, and that occurs often in patients who have other allergic disorders such as allergic rhinitis or eczema. Eczema, also known as the dermatitis, and in this condition skin become inflamed, itchy, cracked and rough. Non-atopic asthma, in this there is no evidence of allergen sensitization, and this both the types episodes of bronchospasm may have diverse triggers like respiratory infections, especially viral infections, or inhalation of smoke and fumes, exposure to cold air, stress and exercise. So these are the diverse triggers that will lead to the episode of bronchospasm. First, we discuss the atopic asthma. It is the classic example of an IgE-mediated type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. And this we see in detail in pathogenesis of this disease. The disease usually begins in childhood, and a positive family history of asthma is common in this atopic asthma. And in this atopic asthma that is triggered by all these environmental allergens also act in synergy with other pro-inflammatory environmental cofactors, that is mostly respiratory viral infections. These patients show positive skin test with the offending antigen. So in this test that is commonly performed on the forearm, and after cleaning the test site with the alcohol, the nurse draws a small marks on the skin and applies a drop of allergen extract next to the each mark. Then he or she uses this sterile needle to prick the extract into the skin surface, and after 15 minutes of this skin pricks, they observe the skin for the signs of allergic reaction, and this positive test is indicated by the presence of wheal and flare reaction, that is the site becomes red and swollen. So this skin test is positive in these patients. This patient shows the high total serum IgE levels and evidence of allergen sensitization by this serum radioallergosorbent test, that is RAST, that can detect the presence of these IgE antibodies that are specific for the individual allergen. So this, what is this RAST test? In this, this suspected allergen is bound to an insoluble material, and the patient's serum is added to it. If the serum contains antibodies to the allergen, these antibodies will bind to the allergen. Then this radio label anti-IgE antibody is added, where it binds to this will binds to those IgE antibody that are already bound to the allergen, and the unbound anti-human IgE antibodies are washed away, and then this is measured, this radioactivity is measured, and it is proportional to the serum immunoglobulin E, that is IgE, for the allergen. So this test detects the IgE antibodies to the specific allergen. Then non-atopic asthma, that is in contrast to atopic asthma, they do not have the evidence of allergen sensitization. Skin test results are usually negative, and positive family history of asthma is less common in these patients. And this non-atopic asthma are triggered by the respiratory infections because of the viruses are common triggers, and also less commonly it is triggered by this inhaled air pollutants like tobacco smoke, sulfur dioxide, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, or exposure to cold and exercise. Then asthma may also be classified according to the agents or events that trigger the bronchoconstriction, and that include seasonal variety, exercise induced, drug induced, occupational asthma, and asthmatic bronchitis in smokers. So what is drug induced asthma? So several pharmacologic agents provoke the asthma. So aspirin sensitive asthma is uncommon type, but it can occur in individuals with recurrent rhinitis and nasal polyps. And these individuals are sensitive to even small doses of aspirin and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and they also experience the urticaria. So urticaria is a condition, it occurs when the body reacts to an allergen and releases the histamine and other chemicals from under the surface of the skin, and also produce the red, raised, itchy and skin rash. So why this drug induced asthma occur? So aspirin and these related drugs that inhibit the cyclooxygenase pathway of the arachidonic acid metabolism. So that ultimately lead to the rapid decrease in the prostaglandin E2. Normally this prostaglandin E2 inhibits the enzymes that generate these leukotrienes that are responsible for the bronchoconstriction. But in this, these drugs that inhibit the cyclooxygenase pathway, so that will lead to the decrease in prostaglandin E2. So this inhibition of the enzymes that generate these leukotrienes will not occur, and so these leukotrienes will lead to the bronchoconstriction. So that will lead to the drug-induced asthma. Then occupational asthma. This is triggered by the inhalation of the fumes, organic and chemical dust, gases or other chemicals. And only minute quantities of the chemicals are required to induce the attack, and it usually occurs after repeated exposure as in occupation. Mechanisms are vary according to the stimulus, and it may be because of the type 1 reactions or direct liberation of the bronchoconstrictor substances, and because of hypersensitivity responses of unknown origin. So this is about the classification of the asthma. Now the pathogenesis. It is caused by a Th2 mediated IgE response to environmental antigens, environmental allergens in a genetically predisposed individuals. So here there is a role of three things. One is immunological response, that is Th2 mediated IgE response. Second is environmental factors, and third is genetic factors. And we'll see all of these in detail one by one. And airway inflammation is central to this disease pathophysiology, and it causes the airway dysfunction by the release of these potent inflammatory mediators and remodeling of the airway wall that occurs in the chronic condition, and this both the things ultimately lead to the airway dysfunction. With severe disease, there is also increased local secretion of the growth factors, and that induce the mucous gland enlargement. So mucous gland hyperplasia, that will lead to the increased mucus secretion. Smooth muscle proliferation, so that will lead to the bronchoconstriction. Angiogenesis, increased vascularity, and fibrosis. And varying combinations of these processes help explain the different asthma subtypes, their response to treatment, and their natural history over a person's lifetime. And this bronchoconstriction is triggered by this direct stimulation of the subepithelial vagal, that is parasympathetic receptors, through both central as well as the local reflexes that are triggered by the mediators that are produced by these mast cells and other cells in the reaction. That will also lead to the increased vascular permeability and edema. And this is the late phase reaction that shows the recruitment of these eosinophils, neutrophils, and T cells. This is the normal airway, and this is the airway in asthma that shows the increase in the goblet cells that will lead to the mucus secretion, recruitment of the inflammatory cells, submucosal gland hyperplasia that also lead to the mucus hypersecretion, and smooth muscle cell hyperplasia. This late phase reaction shows the recruitment of leukocytes, notably eosinophils, neutrophils, and more T cells. And as we have seen that Th2 cells are the dominant T cell type that is involved in the disease, but these Th17 cells that produce the interleukin 17 also contribute to the inflammation and that recruit the neutrophils. So we have seen that many mediators are produced by the leukocytes and epithelial cells, and that are implicated in the asthmatic response. So there is a long list of these suspects in acute asthma, and that can be ranked based on the clinical efficacy of the treatment with antagonist of these specific mediators. So based on treatment, these are divided in three. First is the mediators, whose role in bronchospasm is clearly supported because of the efficacy of this pharmacologic intervention, and these are leukotrienes C4, D4, and E4 that cause the prolonged bronchoconstriction as well as increased vascular permeability and mucus secretion. Other is acetylcholine that is released from the intrapulmonary parasympathetic nerves, and that cause the airway smooth muscle constriction. So antagonists of these mediators are used in the treatment of asthma. Other second group of agents are that are present at the scene of crime, but they have relatively minor contribution, that is supported by the lack of efficacy of these potent antagonists or synthesis inhibitors, and that includes the histamine, that is the potent bronchoconstrictor, prostaglandin D2 that elicits the bronchoconstriction and vasodilatation, and platelet activating factor that causes the aggregation of platelets and release of serotonin from the granules. So they have minor contributions, but they have important role in certain types of chronic or non-allergic asthma. And the third group are those suspects for whom specific antagonists or inhibitors are not available or have been insufficiently studied. So these include the therapies that target the interleukin 13 or interleukin 4 that are in development, include the anti-interleukin 13 monoclonal antibodies and interleukin 4 receptor antagonist. And other targets are interleukin 1, tumor necrosis factor, interleukin 6, chemokines like eotaxin, neuropeptides, nitric oxide, bradykinin and endothelins. So it is clear that multiple mediators are contributing to the acute asthmatic response, and moreover the composition of this mediator soup, it also varies among individuals or in different types of asthma. So the appreciation of that the importance of these inflammatory cells and mediators in asthma, so it has led to the greater emphasis on anti-inflammatory drugs such as the corticosteroids in its treatment. Now the genetic role in asthma. So susceptibility to this atopic asthma is multigenic. So there are multiple genes are involved, and it is also associated with increased incidence of other allergic disorders such as allergic rhinitis and eczema. So this genetic polymorphisms that is seen in various genes that influence the immune responses and subsequent the inflammatory reaction. So more interesting genetic variants that are associated with asthma are first is the susceptibility locus for asthma is located on chromosome 5q. That is the near this gene cluster that encodes these cytokines, and among these polymorphisms in this interleukin 13 gene have the strongest and more consistent association with the asthma. Then this interleukin 4 receptor gene variants are also associated with the atopy, increased serum Ig and asthma. Then particular this class 2 HLA alleles are also linked to the production of this Ig antibodies against some antigens. Then polymorphisms in the gene that encodes this ADAM33, that is the metalloproteinase, is also linked to the proliferation of this bronchial smooth muscle cells and fibroblasts, and that also contribute to the bronchial hyperreactivity and subepithelial fibrosis. Other variants are in several members of this mammalian family of these chitinases. These are the enzymes that cleave chitin, that is a polysaccharide contained in many human parasites and the cell walls of the fungi. And last is this increased serum levels and lung expression of this YKL14, that is also chitinase like glycoprotein that is expressed and secreted by a variety of cells, also correlated with disease severity, airway remodeling and decreased pulmonary function test. So this shows the role of genetics in asthma. Then role of environmental factors. So asthma is a disease of industrialized society and where the majority of the people live. And two ideas have been proposed that explain this association. First is the industrialized environments contain many airborne pollutants, so that serve as the allergen and that initiate the Th2 response. And second thing is that this city life tends to limit the exposure of very young children to certain antigens, particularly microbial antigen. So the idea that this microbial exposure during the early life reduces the later incidence of this allergic diseases, that is popularized as the hygiene hypothesis. So it says that if in early life, if we are exposed to the antigens, then that develop the antibodies, and in later life these antibodies will protect from the disease. But in city, there is that tends to limit the exposure of the microbial antigens, so that will not produce the antibodies. So in later life there are the higher chances of development of this asthma. And that we have seen in inflammatory bowel disease lecture that this hygiene hypothesis also shows that there is an increased chance of IBD in later life because of the there is a limitation of this exposure to the antigen in early life. Although the underlying mechanisms of this protective effect are unclear, but there are trials of giving giving these probiotics and intentional early exposure of the children to these putative allergens to decrease the risk of later developing the allergies. Then role of infections. So infections do not cause asthma by themselves, but they are the important cofactors. And young children who already have this allergen sensitization and who develop lower respiratory tract viral infections, they have higher risk of developing the asthma. And both viral and bacterial infections are associated with the acute exacerbation of the disease. So this is about the pathogenesis of asthma. Now the morphological features. So patients who are dying of this acute severe asthma, that is status asthmaticus, the lungs are overinflated because of the difficulty in expiration, and they contain small areas of atelectasis. Grossly, lungs shows the occlusion of the bronchi and bronchioles by the thick tenacious mucus plugs because there is a presence of mucus hypersecretion. Characteristic finding in sputum or BAL specimen, that is bronchoalveolar lavage specimen. So this BAL is the diagnostic method of the lower respiratory system in which a bronchoscope is passed through the mouth or nose into the appropriate airway in the lungs, and major amount of fluid is introduced, and then this is collected for the examination. So this sputum or BAL specimen shows the characteristic finding, that is Creutzmann spiral. This is the Creutzmann spiral. It results from the extrusion of the mucus plugs from subepithelial mucus gland ducts or the bronchioles, and that also shows the shed epithelium. It also shows these Charcot-Leyden crystals. These are the crystalloids that contain the galectin 10, that is the eosinophil protein. So this shows the Charcot-Leyden crystals. And other characteristic histologic findings of asthma, that is collectively called airway remodeling, is also seen, and that shows the thickening of the airway wall. This sub-basement membrane fibrosis because of the deposition of the type 1 and 3 collagens, increased vascularity because of the angiogenesis, increase in the size of the submucosal glands and number of these goblet cells, hypertrophy and or hyperplasia of the bronchial wall muscle with increased extracellular matrix, and also shows the increase in eosinophils. So, while acute airflow obstruction is primarily because of this muscular bronchoconstriction, acute edema, and mucus plugging, but this airway remodeling also contribute to the chronic irreversible airway obstruction. Clinical features. A classic acute asthmatic attacks, it lasts up to several hours, and some patients have the cardinal symptoms of this chest tightness because of the bronchoconstriction, dyspnea, wheezing and coughing with or without sputum production that are present at low level constantly. And its most severe form, that is the status asthmaticus, this paroxysm persists for days or even weeks. And sometimes that cause the airflow obstruction that is so extreme that marked cyanosis and even death can occur. Diagnosis is based on the demonstration of an increase in airflow obstruction from its baseline level, difficulty with exhalation, so that they shows the prolonged expiration and wheeze. There is in peripheral blood there is eosinophilia in patients who have atopic asthma, and histologically in sputum or BAL specimen they shows these Creutzmann spirals and Charcot-Leyden crystals. Then therapy is based on the severity of the diseases, and up to 50% of the childhood asthma will remit in adolescence, but again return in the adulthood in a significant number of the patients. and in other cases there is a variable decline in the baseline lung function over time. So this is all about the asthma. Now bronchiectasis. So what is bronchiectasis? It is a destruction of the smooth muscle and elastic tissue by inflammation stemming from persistent or severe infections that lead to the permanent dilatation of the bronchi and bronchioles. So here is the destruction of smooth muscle and elastic tissue because of the infections, and that will lead to the inflammation and permanent dilatation of the bronchi and bronchioles. But nowadays, because of the better control of these lung infections, this bronchiectasis is now uncommon. But it can develop in association with the following conditions like congenital or hereditary conditions, infections, bronchial obstructions, and immunological conditions. We'll see each one by one. So these congenital or hereditary conditions that ultimately lead to the chronic infections. These are cystic fibrosis, intralobar sequestration of the lung. So intralobar sequestration of the lung is characterized by the presence of non-functional parenchymal lung tissue that receives the blood supply but that lacks the normal communication with the tracheobronchial tree, and that will lead to the development of the infections. Immunodeficiency states, primary ciliary dyskinesia, and Carthagener syndrome. And these three things, cystic fibrosis, primary ciliary dyskinesia, and Carthagener syndrome, we see detail in the pathogenesis. Then infections, so necrotizing pneumonia that are caused by bacteria, viruses, or fungi. This may be a single severe episode or recurrent infections can lead to the bronchiectasis. Bronchial obstruction because of the tumor, foreign body, or mucus infection. And in each instance, this bronchiectasis is localized to the obstructed lung segment. These immunological conditions can lead to the bronchiectasis, and some cases are idiopathic. So these are the cases which are lacking the above associations. Then pathogenesis. So obstruction and infection are the major conditions that are associated with the bronchiectasis. After bronchial obstruction, these normal clearing mechanisms are impaired, so that results in the pulling of the secretions distal to the obstruction, and then will lead to the superimposed infection and inflammation. And conversely, these severe infections of the bronchi will lead to the inflammation, often with necrosis, fibrosis, and eventually dilatation of the airways, and that lead to the bronchiectasis. Cystic fibrosis is in this the primary defect is in ion transport, and that results in thick viscous secretions that perturb this mucociliary clearance and lead to the airway obstruction. And this obstruction then sets the stage for chronic bacterial infections that cause the widespread damage to airway walls. And with destruction of this supporting smooth muscle and elastic tissue, these bronchi become markedly dilated, and the smaller bronchioles are progressively obliterated because of the fibrosis, and that is called the bronchiolitis obliterans. Then primary ciliary dyskinesia, it is an autosomal recessive disease, and in the disease there is a presence of mutations that involve this dynein that result in ciliary dysfunction because of the defects in ciliary motor proteins. So that prevents the mucociliary clearance and again setting the stage for recurrent infections, and that lead to the bronchiectasis. This ciliary function also is necessary during the embryogenesis, so that ensure the proper rotation of these developing organs in the chest and abdomen. So in its absence, the location becomes a matter of chance, and that can lead to the situs inversus, It's a condition in which the position of these major visual organs are reversed from their normal positions. Like heart is normally located on the left side, but because of this improper rotation of the developing organs, it may be seen on the right side. And approximately half of the patients with this primary ciliary dyskinesia have Carthagener syndrome, that is marked by the situs inversus, bronchiectasis, and sinusitis. And males with this condition also tend to be infertile because of the sperm dysmotility. Then allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis that occurs in patients with asthma or cystic fibrosis, and then it ultimately leads to the bronchiectasis. It is a hyperimmune response to the fungus, that is Aspergillus fumigatus, and sensitization to this Aspergillus leads to the activation of the Th2 helper T cells that release the cytokines and that recruit the eosinophils and other leukocytes. And characteristically, it shows the high serum IgE levels, serum antibodies to this Aspergillus fungus, intense airway inflammation with eosinophils, and formation of the mucus plugs that plays a primary role in the development of the bronchiectasis. Morphological features of bronchiectasis. So it usually affects the lower lobes bilaterally. Air passages that are vertical are commonly affected and most severe in the more distal bronchi and bronchioles. When tumor or aspiration of the foreign body leads to the bronchiectasis, the involvement is localized. The airways are dilated, sometimes up to the 4 times the normal size. Characteristically, sometimes this bronchi and bronchioles are so dilated that they can be followed almost to the pleural surfaces. In contrast, in normal lung, these bronchioles cannot be followed by eye beyond a point of 2 to 3 centimeter from the pleural surfaces. So it shows this is the focal area of dilated bronchi that extending up to the pleural surface. This is the typical of localized bronchiectasis. Cut surface of the lung shows this dilated bronchi that can appear cystic and with mucopurulent secretions. Histologically, there is a presence of acute and chronic inflammatory exudation within the walls of bronchi and bronchioles, also associated with the desquamation of the lining epithelium and extensive ulceration. And there may also be presence of squamous metaplasia of the remaining epithelium in response to chronic inflammation, so that further diminishing the mucociliary clearance. So that shows this necrotizing inflammation and presence of acute and chronic inflammatory cells, desquamation of this lining epithelium with ulceration and bronchial destruction. Necrosis also destroys the bronchial or bronchular walls and that forms the lung abscess as a complication. And the fibrosis of these bronchial and bronchular walls and peribronchial fibrosis that develop in the chronic cases that lead to the obliteration of the bronchial lumens. That is bronchiolitis obliterans. Bacteria that are isolated in the bronchiectasis are staphylococci, streptococci, pneumococci, enteric organisms, anaerobic and microaerophilic bacteria, Haemophilus influenza and Pseudomonas bacteria in children, and in Aspergillus bronchopulmonary disease, in allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, there is a presence of fungal hyphae. These patients present with severe and persistent cough, expectoration of the foul smelling, bloody sputum, dyspnea, and orthopnea in severe cases, and massive hemoptysis. These symptoms are often episodic and that are precipitated by upper respiratory tract infections or introduction of the new pathogenic agents. And these paroxysms of this cough are particularly frequent when the patient rises in the morning, because as the change in position occurs, that causes the collection of the pus and secretions to drain into the bronchi. Obstructive respiratory insufficiency can lead to the marked dyspnea and cyanosis. However, current treatments with better antibiotics and physical therapy have improved the outcomes considerably, and life expectancy has almost doubled. So these complications, cor pulmonale, brain abscess, and amyloidosis are less frequently occurring nowadays. In summary, today in this lecture we have discussed about the asthma and bronchiectasis. So in summary, asthma is characterized by reversible bronchoconstriction that is caused by airway hyperresponsiveness to a variety of stimuli. Atopic asthma is caused by TS2 and IgE mediated immunologic reaction to environmental allergens, and it is characterized by acute phase and late phase reactions. The Th2 cells, cytokines, interleukin 4 and 5 and interleukin 13 are important mediators. Interleukin 17 and interleukin 9 are also being shown to be important. Triggers for non-atopic asthma are less clear, but include the viral infections and inhaled air pollutants, which can also trigger the atopic asthma. Eosinophils are the key inflammatory cells that are found in almost all subtypes of asthma. And other inflammatory cells include the mast cells, neutrophils, and T lymphocytes. Airway remodeling that shows the sub-basement membrane fibrosis, hypertrophy of bronchial glands, and smooth muscle hyperplasia that adds an irreversible component to the obstructive disease. Then bronchiectasis is a disorder in which there is a destruction of smooth muscle and elastic tissue by chronic necrotizing infections, and that lead to the dilatation of the bronchi and bronchioles, and that is associated with variety of conditions. And morphologically characteristic findings are the dilatation of the bronchi and bronchioles with presence of necrotizing inflammation that shows the acute and chronic inflammatory cells with bronchial ulceration and necrosis. And this is the table that shows the difference in this obstructive pulmonary disease. So as we have discussed emphysema and chronic bronchitis in previous lecture and asthma and bronchiectasis in today's lecture. So in emphysema, the anatomic site affected is the acinus, and the main etiological factor is the tobacco smoking that will lead to the airspace enlargement and destruction of the wall, and the main clinical sign is the dyspnea. In chronic bronchitis, the anatomic site is the bronchus, and here also the etiological factor is tobacco smoke and air pollutants that will lead to the mucous gland hyperplasia and mucus hypersecretion. That is the main pathological change, and it shows the clinical symptom cough and sputum production. Asthma, the main anatomic site is the bronchus, and it is because of the immunological causes that will lead to the smooth muscle hyperplasia. So there is a bronchoconstriction, inflammation, and excessive mucus production. Clinically, they present with cough, episodic wheezing, and dyspnea. In bronchiectasis, anatomic site is the bronchus, and etiological factor is because of the infections. It will lead to the airway dilatation and scarring, and the patient present with cough, purulent sputum, and fever because of the infections. And these are the small airway disease. These are the bronchiolitis. Anatomic site is the bronchiole. Etiological factors are tobacco smoke, air pollutants, and many others that ultimately leads to the inflammatory scarring and obliteration of the bronchus because they are the small airways. fibrosis will lead to the bronchiolitis, obliterans, and they present with cough and dyspnea. And this component is can be seen with other forms of the obstructive lung disease, or can be seen as an isolated find. Thank you.